Hey folks, this is Frankly Vegas, where we eat as you'd eat. We experience places anonymously so that we can report back on them honestly. Today, we're taking you to the Marketplace Buffet, located inside the Rampart Casino in Summerlin, Las Vegas. Apparently, it's the only casino providing an all-you-can-eat buffet around Summerlin and the area north from there. Today is my first visit, but I've heard a lot about this place before even setting foot here. And due to the buffet's reputation being quite strong among Vegas locals, I imagined that the casino that the buffet is located inside of would actually be larger than it is. The casino floor turned out to be smaller than I expected, with fewer tables than I imagined. Meanwhile, this actually made finding the buffet a piece of cake. Let's go over Marketplace Buffet's pricing and what they offer on different days of the week. Feel free to take a pause at any time if you'd like a closer look at any of these details. Here are their hours of operation and pricing. The buffet has some themes depending on the day of the week. So on Monday nights, the buffet's theme is New York Deli Night for $28. Saturday nights is Aloha Night coming in at $32. And then there's Weekend Champagne Brunch, which is priced at $33. We arrived at the Marketplace Buffet on Sunday at 4 p.m., right when they opened for their $32 prime rib dinner buffet. It's available on Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays from 4 to 8 p.m. For those who are Rampart Plus, Summerlin Premier, or Elite members, the price drops to $27. Adding all-you-can-drink beer and wine for an additional $8 is the cherry on top. Here's the bill that we prepaid before entering. Walking in, the ambiance was trendy, modern, and a casual vibe with a decor palette of grays, browns, and white stone tiling, complemented by wood, stone, and metallic accents. It's a nice touch of a setting, making it feel both welcoming and maybe even a bit upscale. Now, let's take a look at the buffet to see what they've got on the line. The first item in the carvery section is the fried chicken. Next to it is the battered cod. Next, we have rosemary grilled pork chops. Next are caramelized carrots. Here we have mashed potatoes, followed by a pot of gravy. And now we see here the garlic parmesan fries. Here we have creamed spinach. Next are pulled pork sliders. Here are a couple of boxes of bread rolls. Now that brings us to the next section with the stars of the carvery. This is rotisserie chicken. Next to it is turkey whole breast. Here is their prime rib. And then here's their barbecue ribs. And here's some sausage. And here's au jus sauce in front. Next we see a row of condiments which include mustard, ketchup, mayonnaise, butter, barbecue sauce, cranberry sauce, tartar sauce, creamy horseradish, regular horseradish. Okay, now we're heading on over to some fruits that they have, such as cantaloupe, oranges, honeydew in the back, and then watermelon in the front. And then next to the fruits are peel and eat shrimp, as well as cocktail sauce and lemon wedges for the shrimp. Now we're heading over to the salad bar that's nicely laid out. We see mixed greens. Next to it is an iceberg lettuce combination. And here we see spinach. And here we see bacon bits, cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, red onions, and shredded cheese. Here we see garbanzo beans, blue cheese crumbles, artichoke hearts, julienne beets, kidney beans, and black olives. Next is their selection of salad dressings. But before we get into them, on top we have some peppers. Then there's ranch dressing. The white dressing in the back is blue cheese dressing. The red dressing in the front is Catalina dressing. And then here's Italian dressing and Thousand Island dressing. And then there's bottles of balsamic vinegar, red wine vinegar, and olive oil. And we continue with more salads. Here we see spinach salad with croutons in front. To the left of it is their Fruity Pebbles salad, which contains starfruit and dragon fruit, which looks intriguing. Next is the Caesar salad. And now we see mini wedge salads. Now we look at a couple of baskets of bread rolls that they have. These weren't labeled yet, but the first roll appears to be a whole wheat roll, followed by a more standard looking roll, followed by a cheese-encrusted roll. Next, we move on to soups, and here we see broccoli cheddar soup. And here's chicken noodle soup, which looks very appealing. And to the left of that is French onion soup, with a box of saltine crackers next to it. Moving on to their Euro section, here we see their selection of deli meats. And here are crackers, mozzarella cheese, and cheddar cheese. And then in front of those, we have Dijon mustard, and two types of tempanada, olive tempanada on the right, and artichoke tempanada on the left. And to the left of that are some capers. Here are some Parmesan cheese and crushed red pepper flakes for the pizza. We can see how popular the Meat Lovers pizza is because it's only been a few minutes after the buffet has opened for dinner, and the Meat Lovers pizza is already all gone, except for a straggling pepperoni. Same with the cheese pizza. All that's left is this last slice. Here's the vegetable pizza, which doesn't seem as popular but still looks good. Then here's garlic toast. And then there's oven roasted potatoes. Next is roasted butternut squash. And this is the beef stew. Next to it is the lemon pepper salmon. Here we're continuing with another popular item, the Cajun seafood boil, that already seems to be halfway gone just 10 minutes after opening for dinner here. Moving along, we see their Greek salad. Next to it is the antipasto salad, followed by the garbanzo salad. And next to it is the aptly named pasta salad. And let's see what's coming up next. The mushroom ravioli. Next to that is the pear pasta purse, so there might be a sweet filling inside. Here we see the macaroni and cheese. And next to it is the chicken Alfredo. Now that brings us into the global section. And the first item we see here is the corn soup. And here's the egg drop soup next to it. And here's plenty of wonton chips to add to your soup if you'd like. Here we see some egg rolls, followed by some chicken pot stickers. At this point, we noticed that the Meat Lovers pizza had been brought out again, so we jumped at the chance to grab a slice before it was all gone again. Here's a large container of steamed white rice, and here's fried rice, followed by bok choy, and next to that we see mapo tofu. Next we see beef chow fun, and next to that is crawfish. And to the left of that are some chopsticks and fortune cookies. And next we see some sauces. Here are some packets of sriracha sauce, followed by soy sauce, sweet and sour sauce, sea salt edamame, and kimchi. And now we head on over to the sweets and dessert section, starting with their selection of toppings. We see sprinkles, a strawberry topping, chocolate sauce, Oreo cookies, M&Ms, and whipped cream. Next, we see their selection of ice cream and gelato. Let's see what's available. There's mint chip, butter pecan, cappuccino gelato, spumoni gelato, pistachio gelato, strawberry cream gelato, chocolate gelato with no sugar added, vanilla gelato with no sugar added, and then there's mango sorbet. Over here we have a soft serve machine with options for vanilla and chocolate. Continuing the selection of desserts, we see they have churros, apple cobbler, bread pudding, and we see some caramel sauce on the side. Next we see double chocolate cookies. And the cookies on the bottom are oatmeal raisin cookies. We have brownies on top. Next we see peanut butter cookies, followed by chocolate chip cookies. And then there's a good number of small red velvet cupcakes. Moving on, let's check out their pies. First we find apple pie, cherry pie, blueberry pie. We find carrot cake on top, followed by chocolate pops. Going up we find magic bars. Some of these desserts weren't labeled yet, so we didn't want to assume what they were. but they certainly look delicious. And here's a selection of desserts with no sugar added. The first one we see here are chocolate chip cookies, and we see pecan pie next to it. To the left of that, we see cheesecake, and in the back, we see coconut cream pie. So that's the tour of what they have on offer for the Prime Rib Dinner Buffet tonight. Let's get some of this food and head back to the table to sit down and try them out. All right, let's kick off the meal with some good old fried chicken. I think we're off to a good start with their fried chicken. The batter had this awesome blistered texture on the outside, super crispy and seasoned just right. And when you bite into it, there's this nice contrast with the batter because the inside of it is moist and soft without being soggy or uncooked. Plus the chicken itself, super tender and juicy, with the seasoning just right. The flavor was spot on, savory in the best possible way. Next up, the barbecue ribs. The barbecue ribs were pretty solid. They had a nice glaze to them, not drowning in sauce, which I appreciated. The outside was a tad on the tough side, though, but flavor-wise, they nailed it with the seasoning and the smoking, which really infused throughout the meat, and it paired really well with the barbecue sauce they added on top. My piece even had this nice bit of crunchy cartilage in the middle, and I love chomping on cartilage. Overall, not a bad rib experience at all. With some bites, you get some lean pieces, and then other bites sink into fattier pieces of meat, which really helps keep things tender. Loved the mix of textures going on there. Next, we're going to try the crawfish. I've got to admit I'm not exactly an expert when it comes to peeling crawfish. I might need to hit up my relatives from Louisiana for a quick lesson on how to do it right. Right now, I'm just trying to devein these little guys. Alright, now the crawfish meat is finally ready for me to eat. They're seasoned with some Cajun spices, which adds a nice kick to the meat. The meat's a bit on the mealy side, but hey, it's definitely not the worst crawfish I've tried. The sausage had a promising look right from the start, with those little flecks of black pepper and hints of possibly other spices peeking out from the inside. Honestly, it's a pretty decent sausage. The inside was nice and moist, with a deep and pleasant flavor. The casing didn't really have any snap you sometimes get, but you can still distinguish it from the meaty inside. It wasn't one of those overly dry sausages where the inside falls apart into crumbs. Considering it came from a value-priced buffet, it wasn't bad at all. The beef stew from the European section looked like it was well cooked, with the meat nicely braised and stewed. The beef was cooked thoroughly, leaning more towards the lean side, but still containing some gristle and fat. It had a flavor suggesting it had been simmered in a red wine reduction, along with vegetables, giving it a rich, deep taste. Now we see we've got the following on this plate: some rotisserie chicken and prime rib, accompanied by both fresh and creamed horseradish, as well as au jus sauce for dipping. Alongside these, we have pork chops, creamy mashed potatoes with gravy, crispy fried battered cod with tartar sauce for pairing, sweet caramelized carrots, crispy Parmesan fries, rich creamed spinach, deli meats and cheese and capers, mushroom ravioli, salmon, seafood boil, artichoke dip, and grapes. Let's kick off the next round with the battered cod. The batter is noticeably hard, crispy, and crunchy, which can be fun to experience. The tartar sauce is far more sour than I was expecting. As for the fish meat inside, there isn't much of a flavor to it, but I'll take that over an overly fishy taste any day. Overall, it's pretty much what you'd expect from average fried fish. The mushroom ravioli is wonderfully creamy and smooth, even though it doesn't look like it's swimming in sauce. The dough is exceptionally soft and silky, hitting that perfect spot before being considered overdone. The filling, rich with cheese and a mix of mushrooms, even featuring slices of canned button mushrooms, strikes a delightful balance. The cheese complements rather than dominates the mushrooms, allowing their taste to shine through. I'm a big fan of this mushroom ravioli. The creamed spinach is cooked just right, allowing the true taste of the spinach to come through beautifully. It's not pureed to an extreme degree, so you can actually savor the spinach, which makes for a pleasant experience. The cream sauce that envelops it strikes a perfect harmony, creating a nice balance between the spinach and cream. The caramelized carrot is delicately glazed, enhancing its natural sweetness instead of leaving it bland and starchy. Its texture is softer than al dente, yet not to the point of being worryingly mushy, as it becomes firmer with each bite you take deeper into it. Let's take a look at the pork chop. We can see it's grilled on one side and has a bit of fat around the edges. Just by holding it on the fork, the pork chop feels rigid and stiff, which isn't exactly promising when it comes to actually eating it. Cutting into it proves to be a real challenge due to its toughness. When it came time to actually bite into it and chew it, the meat itself was dry, unfortunately, making chewing quite challenging, and it felt dry against the tongue. However, the flavor and seasoning are on point, offering a nice, slightly tangy taste from the barbecue sauce that's been infused into it. Let's try the Parmesan fries. The fries boast a satisfying crispiness with a crunchy outside that's seasoned just right. The insides of the potatoes are pleasantly fresh. They're not drenched in Parmesan, allowing for subtle hints of cheese to peek through every now and then. Overall, not too shabby. Okay, next is the main event that we've been eagerly anticipating at any buffet that offers it, the prime rib. We requested a medium rare slice from the carver, but ended up with a large, thin piece that seemed closer to rare. It's not a major issue, considering it's a buffet setting. The beef itself wasn't particularly rich in flavor, but it had a pleasant level of saltiness. You can detect the hints of the herb rub that's been added, enhancing its taste. While slightly on the tougher side, it wasn't too difficult to chew, even with its rareness. Dipping it into the au jus sauce made a notable difference, not only adding a touch more saltiness, but also bringing out the savory, beefy flavors we were looking for. And who can refuse mashed potatoes when you've had steak? Moving on to the mashed potatoes with gravy. Spotting potato skin mixed in with the mashed potatoes is a promising sight. The potatoes are excellently whipped and pureed, yet still feature real chunks of potato throughout. The gravy is great as well, having a nice consistency and savory flavor to it. Next up, a huge piece of rotisserie chicken. With such large servings of prime rib and chicken, there is a concern they might fill me up too quickly, limiting my ability to try more of the buffet. Cutting into the chicken, it initially looks like it might be dry, which wouldn't be shocking given its white meat. However, upon tasting, it's actually quite moist, much to my surprise. The skin isn't crispy, but it's seasoned well with herbs, and the meat has hints of these herb flavors too. Moving on to the clams and shrimp from the seafood boil. The shrimp packs a real punch, generously seasoned with Cajun spices. They're of medium size, not the freshest I've had, but thankfully not suffering from that overcooked or freezer burn taste. Nor are they mealy. I'd say they're better than average. The clams, too, are richly seasoned with Cajun spices and are a good size. Their freshness and texture are notably better than average, offering a satisfying chewiness. Let's now check out the lemon pepper salmon. This looked promising at first glance, but as I cut into it, the knife went through too smoothly, which was a bit unusual. Typically, when slicing or breaking into fresher salmon, the meat will have a bit of give before you're able to cut through. And while slicing and cutting, smaller chunks of salmon may break off and stick to the utensils you're using. But this piece sliced too neatly, almost in block-like sections, leading me to expect a very firm texture. However, the eating experience was surprisingly similar to budget canned salmon in both texture and taste. While it was moist, the way it crumbled so easily felt more chalky than fresh. The distinct salmon flavor was hard to come by, coming off as quite bland. And as for the lemon and pepper seasoning, it seemed lost, unable to stand up to the overpowering blandness of the salmon itself. For the deli cuts, the meats weren't clearly marked, but let's dive in. The first slice was excellently cured and seasoned. The second slice packed a lot more heat, bursting with a robust spice blend that reminded me of star anise, maybe some clove, or even hints of caraway. It was a flavor profile I really enjoyed. For the French onion soup, it came without the layer of cheese covering the soup, since it's served from a large vat at the buffet, which was fine by me. There's plenty of onions, and their taste is thoroughly infused into the soup. The saltiness is just right. It's mildly salty at first taste, and doesn't get saltier the longer it sits on your palate. The savory richness of the flavor is spot on. This is among the most well-balanced French onion soups I've ever enjoyed. For macaroni and cheese, the Marketplace Buffet opts for cavatappi pasta instead of the traditional elbow variety. They look like multiple pieces of elbow pasta joined together. This choice sets their mac and cheese apart visually from mac and cheese offered at other places. The pasta is cooked just right, while the cheese is more on the light side, both in texture and taste, allowing for a more pronounced wheat flavor that isn't dominated by the cheese. This is an elevated mac and cheese that I can appreciate. Next up, the bok choy. The white, thicker portion of the bok choy presents a crispy, crunchy, and fresh texture, while the green leaves are slightly wilted, offering a pleasant contrast. It carries the characteristic flavor profile of bok choy, blending a hint of sweetness with a touch of bitterness. This is a nicely cooked bok choy. Okay, now we'll try the mapo tofu. Mapo tofu features sizable tofu chunks. The seasoning is spot on, salty but not excessively so, with a mild, spicy undertone. The sauce complements rather than overwhelms the tofu, which is cooked to perfection and full of flavor. The seasonings penetrate well into the tofu, ensuring it's neither bland nor underseasoned. Overall, this dish is expertly prepared. What we now have here is the pear pasta purse. Inside, there's a creamy, cheesy filling that carries a gentle sweetness with some pear flavor. The pasta exterior is cooked just beyond al dente, yet pleasantly so, and does an excellent job of securing the filling inside. This dish was quite a delightful find, and I've become quite a fan. For the beef chow fun, I was hoping to get that wok seared taste, or wok hei. In this case, it's somewhat mild, less intense than I'd like, but it's acceptable, especially for a buffet where the cooks are actually speaking Chinese. The noodles are decent, though a tad overcooked, making them break apart more easily than usual, but still alright. Seasoning is good, with white onions adding a sweet yet slightly raw touch, whereas the green onions or scallions are cooked more thoroughly. The beef is nicely flavored, with a nice starchy, saucy texture to it. Now we have to try the meat lover's pizza, seeing how it kept going fast. The first thing we noticed is that it features a generous layer of tomato sauce. The pepperonis deliver just the right amount of heat and seasoning, salty, but not excessively so. The cheese has been baked to achieve a pleasing, crispy crust in spots. The cheese quality is satisfactory, offering a good thickness while being slightly stringy, maintaining a well-balanced ratio with the crust and sauce. Surprisingly well executed for an all-you-can-eat buffet pizza, avoiding the common fate of being dismal and underwhelming. Overall, I'm satisfied with the meat lover's pizza. Next up, we'll be trying some different salads. First up is the garbanzo salad. The garbanzo beans are cooked well, maintaining a slight firmness on the outside while being softer on the inside. The accompanying vegetables are crisp and fresh, including apples, tomatoes, and a hint of cucumber. Overall, it's a satisfying salad. Next, we'll be having a bite of the spinach salad. The spinach salad features a sprinkle of bacon bits and what seems to be a light dressing of balsamic and red wine vinegar. Overall, quite light and refreshing. Let's now try the Fruity Pebbles salad. This unique salad includes starfruit, dragon fruit, and pineapple, creating a wonderfully subtly sweet mix. The starfruit offers a crisp texture with hints of citrus, while the dragon fruit is delightfully mild and sweet, without any exotic or unfamiliar flavors. There are also some cucumbers added in. Everything is served chilled, making it a refreshing and light salad choice. Let's move on to the Greek salad. It's made up of cherry tomatoes, crumbled feta cheese, and romaine lettuce, achieving a well-balanced mix. The ingredients are all notably fresh. The feta cheese brings a distinct, sharp flavor to each bite it's in. It's lightly dressed with oil and vinegar. With the antipasto salad, the strips of cold cuts are exceptionally well cured, offering a profound depth of flavor that meets the expected standard for such meats. This also applies to the olives and artichoke hearts, which are all intensely pickled, marinated, meeting my expectations. The egg drop soup has a nice consistency, not too thick or starchy. The level of saltiness is just right, with a generous amount of egg throughout. A great example of egg drop soup. As we head into the final round of our meal, let's sample some of the sweets that are available today. First up, the chocolate gelato, no sugar added. This chocolate gelato boasts a rich, deep chocolate taste. It's quite delightful. The texture is pleasantly rich and creamy. Next up is the bread pudding, which is exceptionally soft, moist, and tender, with a well-balanced hint of cinnamon. Despite its delicacy, the texture of the bread remains discernible. You can also taste a subtle milk flavor that adds to its overall pleasantness. The apple cobbler contains noticeable chunks of apple, striking a balance without being too sugary and sweet. It features a nicely crisp crust. The apples aren't overcooked to a mushy, mealy texture, but retain a fresh, crisp texture as you bite through it. And finally, I walked out with the chocolate cake pop in my hand. The chocolate cake inside was pleasantly moist. The outside chocolate coating was quite enjoyable, forming a nice crust. However, it wasn't chilled as cold as I would have preferred. A colder temperature would have made the coating crunchier, which I believe would have been better. Still, I enjoyed it as a convenient way to end my meal with something sweet. Overall, I felt that the Marketplace Buffet at Rampart Casino provided a decent selection. The service was impeccable, with attentive staff ensuring our water glasses were always full. The noise level was moderate, allowing for easy conversation without any music in the background. The dress code is casual, fitting the laid-back yet stylish atmosphere. Parking is hassle-free, with both structure and outdoor options at the casino, and generally self-parking is free. By the time we wrapped up around 6 p.m., we noticed there still wasn't too long of a line waiting to get inside, which was a pleasant surprise for a Vegas buffet. There's a certain charm to these all-you-can-eat joints, especially those not gouging you on the price. A smorgasbord of variety, occasionally hitting the jackpot with something genuinely palatable. It might seem like stating the obvious, but for those watching their wallet, these places are a godsend. There's a hard ceiling on what you'll shell out, so you won't get carried away blowing your budget on a single meal, especially with the reasonably priced add-on for unlimited alcohol. There's something else we appreciate. The beauty of a self-serve buffet is in its democracy. The staff and the kitchen can't curry favor with us through discounts or freebies. The plate we fill is no different from the one in the hands of the person behind us. It's a level playing field, a genuine slice of a dining experience, untainted and real. If you're thinking about swinging by from the Strip, it's just a quick 15-minute drive away. You might see it listed as Rampart Buffet or Marketplace Buffet on Google Maps. You'll end up in the right place navigating to either one. If you like this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you won't miss any of our upcoming reviews.